Welcome back to Small Town Hauntings. I'm Bella, your psychic medium and investigator of all things paranormal. And this is my cousin Nancy.
Hi.
Who is a scary skeptic.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm a skeptic.
Not scary. She's a scary believer.
There you go. A scary believer or just a scared believer?
Scared believer, but she is also my cousin.
Yeah.
And she has no choice but to be here. So
you don't realize I actually have chains around my legs right now to the table.
Yes. So tonight we're unlocking the courtroom doors and stepping inside of one of Windsor's most haunted and historic buildings, Mackenzie Hall. Yes. From trials and executions to dragging footsteps and the Lady in Black, this place earned its spooky reputation brick by brick. Did you really? I don't know if it says that. Yeah, it is. So I'll let you get into it with the history. Yeah. So okay. Nancy's going to tell us a little bit about the history.
That's the long history of Mackenzie Hall. Okay, let's set the scene. Picture it.
It's Sicily.
1942. Yeah. 1850 Sandwich Town. Dirt roads, horse-drawn carriages, the Detroit River quietly flowing nearby. And right in the middle of it all, a looming limestone courthouse rising from the ground like it's something out of a Gothic novel.
That sounds very poetic.
I know it does. Well, we've been there.
It's actually, yeah, we actually did a haunted tour.
A tour there, yes. Mm-hmm. And the guy behind that stone, none other than Alexander Mackenzie, before he became Canada's second prime minister. Can
you imagine that? He was the second prime minister.
He was a stonemason?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. That's the way to climb the ladder.
Yeah.
A hands-on kind of man, literally. He didn't just commission the building, he helped build it with his own two hands. You don't get more Canadian Gothic than that.
Not at all. It's like, this is going to be my building, I'm building it, and I'm going to be prime minister.
And then I'm going to be prime minister.
Yes.
See, that's what do you call that? A vision board.
Yes.
That's like vision board, just like check. So Mackenzie Hall was built in between 1855 to 1856, was originally the Essex County Courthouse and Jail. It housed the courtroom, county offices, jail cells, and brace yourself, a gallows in the rear courtyard. They weren't messing around. Oh, gallows. Isn't that where they like hang people and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is a court. I guess that makes sense. It's like a town square.
Well, that's what Canada used to do. They hung people. That's how they used to do the executions.
Makes sense, right? Let's see. And it wasn't just a courthouse. It was a community hub where big decisions were made and heavy sentences handed down. The architecture itself, classic revival style, with those stem stone columns and was meant to intimidate. You walked up those stairs and you knew your fate was going to be decided inside.
It is intimidating.
Yeah, the building itself,
It's intimidating. It's not a welcoming little space like.
But it's not supposed to be.
No.
If it was originally a courthouse and a jailhouse.
But they do weddings there now.
No, do they do weddings
there
at Mackenzie
it's
Hall?
become a banquet also.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they could feel like the heaviness.
Why would? Well,
I mean,
with a couple of drinks in, you really care?
Executions took place right on site.
Yes.
One of the most, and some people might consider marriage a part of an execution.
Someone's been hung.
You know, right? The old ball and chain.
Yes.
One of the most infamous happened in 1862. An escaped slave was convicted of murdering his wife and was publicly hanged right there in the courtyard. And that wasn't the last.
God.
The final executions occurred in 1943 when two Detroit men were convicted of murdering a local cafe owner. And here's the kicker. They were tried, sentenced, and hanged all under the same roof. Talk about a one-stop shop for justice and death.
I wonder how they must have been over here. Because there's no that whole thing where it's like they extradite you.
Yeah.
But apparently that was a part.
Well, that might have been
because these people were from Detroit and they got executed here.
All in one day, it sounds like.
It was like you did it, boom.
Right. Eventually, though, the courthouse did shut down, and in the late 20th century, Mackenzie Hall was transformed into a cultural center. Today, it hosts art exhibits, performances, and weddings.
See?
Yep, people are getting married in a place where people once hung. Yeah, that sounds romantic.
Nothing says love. Nothing says love like getting married there.
Well, you know.
So, I mean,
once
the building is beautiful, but it's like...
I once stayed in a hotel in Massachusetts that was actually a jail. The doors were still like the jail doors.
They were the jail cells?
Yeah. Well, the room still had the jail cell doors. Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the hauntings. The footsteps and everything else. So, so now that we've gotten the historical bones, let's get hysterical. Let's get into the hauntings, because Mackenzie Hall is more than just a historical landmark. It's a place where energy lingers. People walk in and immediately you feel watched. So employees and visitors alike report hearing dragging sounds when no one else is around. One former employee said he left a ladder on the second floor overnight, and when he came back, it had been moved. Doors that were locked were mysteriously open. Nothing was missing, just moved, like something or someone was walking the halls after hours. The dragging noise, it's been described like chains or a heavy bench being scraped across the floor. And when security checks it out, nothing's there, which brings us to one of the most frequently seen spirits, the woman in black. Seen by multiple people, she wears old-fashioned mourning clothes, usually seen lingering in the caretaker's quarters. It's believed she was Mrs. Park, the wife of the former caretaker, who lost a child inside the building. People say she appears in the room where the child passed away.
Oh.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Judge Stewart. He was known as the Bloody Judge because of his reputation of harsh sentences. There's a portrait of him hanging in what's now called the McDonald Room. A young boy once pointed at the empty space in front of the portrait and said he saw a man standing there cold, staring at him.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
People have also reported sending cold spots, shadow figures in the old courtroom, unexplained knocks from inside the jail, the original jail cells. One visitor said he felt a hand brush against her neck when no one was there. And let me just say, yeah, no, thank you.
No. Yeah, no.
So, but we did do that haunted walk.
Yeah, and we actually, that first story.
Yeah, that was
one of the
yeah.
stories that were...
So there's some places that about life and death decisions were made where grief, fear, and guilt, anger are soaked into the walls. These emotions don't just vanish; they echo. And Mackenzie Hall is particularly humming with these echoes. So, but I've had stories of people that work there because at one point it was turned into there's offices there.
There is office buildings.
Yeah, there's offices in there.
Yeah.
So, and there's been a couple times where actually there was a janitor that was in there and he was cleaning and had the radio on because it was late at night. He had the radio on. He hadn't been working there. He had just taken the job on, had the radio on. All of a sudden he'd start mopping or doing whatever and the radio would stop. So he'd come out and he'd look and the radio would be unplugged. So he'd go over and plug it back in, and this happened like 3 times.
Somebody didn't like the music.
And every time he would come out, the radio had been moved. The radio had moved too. So he was just like, the third time he went out and the radio was now like, I think in the middle of the hall or something like that, and wasn't working again. He was like, I packed up my stuff and I left.
And there's other stories of office when it was offices. Some of the
there was a lady there,
and she kept hearing noises because she was working after hours.
There's another one that, since it's been a wedding venue, there was a guest that said that they were walking down and where there's a particular spot where you see people hanging, and she was walking down the hall and from the corner of her eye could see like bodies swinging.
Really?
And then kind of like went and stopped and looked and it disappeared. But she's like, there was like 3 different bodies, there was 3 different bodies just hanging there.
That's scary.
Yeah, and she's not the first one that's seen it. So there's a lot, and of course during the day because it's busy, people tend to not notice it. But if you're working there late at night, nobody works there late at night.
Not anymore. No. And I don't think anybody would want to go in there after dark. I'd be creeped out.
I remember talking to a lady, and she said that she had an office there, and she didn't know the whole story. She knew this stuff was happening, but she wasn't 100% sure about it. And she said that she was working late in her office because she they needed stuff that they needed to finish. So she was working, and then all of a sudden she started hearing stuff outside, and she's like, I just shut my computer down and I just left.
Right.
She's like, nope. Because she started hearing footsteps, and she started hearing, I think she was in the one room and she thought someone was in the reception room and like in the front. So I believe she's like, there should be nobody here. Right. She went in because she could hear mumbling. She came out, nobody there. So she went back to her desk, started typing again, you can hear like people's voices talking, but there's no one there.
You don't make out words.
Yeah, you can't make up words.
Because anytime I've heard disembodied voices, I can never really understand what they're saying.
No, and that's exactly what was happening. So she's like, what is that? And so then went back out again, didn't see anything. And then the second time she went back in, it got louder. So she said the third time it happened, she went out again, and she said that when she went back,
third time.
Well, because she kept hearing these voices, so she originally thought it was, and she heard like a door open and close. She's like, hello. She thought it was like her next door neighbor or whatever, the person that in the office next to her. But then she was like, I remember seeing him leaving. He had come in and said he was going, and he's like, are you staying? Kind of like, you really want to do that?
Yeah.
And then I think the third time she went out, and every time she'd go back in, the voices would kind of get louder. But again, she never was able to make out what was being said.
Oh, wow.
So then that's when she said, you know what? And this happened, I think, within maybe 20 minutes of the other guy leaving. So it was pretty quick. She was like, you know what? I think it's time that I left.
Oh, yeah. I would never stay late all by myself in a place like that.
Yeah, she said. And I'm like, well, how late was it? She goes, it wasn't very late. It's just when the building quieted down.
Right, yeah.
Right? There was nobody there. There was nobody else, people walking, shuffling. There was nobody else.
The energy is different.
Yeah, the energy is different. Yeah, so everybody else was gone. And she's just like, she's like, nobody really stays late. And if you do, you always stay with a friend.
You always make sure somebody else is staying with you.
You're leaving? I'm leaving too.
I totally get that.
Yeah. Well, the tour that we took, the ghost tour that they had, there was like somebody in the window. Remember that one day?
Yeah, and they weren't supposed to be in the window.
No, we were like...
Because we did see something.
Because the guy was... I don't even think the guy really realized it, because he was like, oh, we hear this, blah, blah, and all of a sudden we're looking, and we look at the window, and there's a
shadowy
figure, which we assume is the lady in black. There's a shadowy figure, like, looking out at us, and we're just like, is there anybody working right now? And he's like, there's nobody supposed to be in the building. We're like, there's a lady in the window.
Yeah, or at least a shadow.
A shadow of a lady in the window, because we couldn't really make out. We just could tell it's kind of feminine looking.
Because it was dark already.
Yeah,
past dark,
it was, and we're like, but there's someone here, and he was just like, okay, well, we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
And this was outside of the building.
Yeah, we didn't even go in. We didn't get it.
We couldn't. Yeah, it was outside. Yeah. He was telling us in the parking lot, and we're just like, yeah, we might want to move on. So that was interesting.
So if anybody has any are there any personal stories of Mackenzie Hall or anything like this, you should email us at smalltownhauntings@outlook.com, and maybe we'll share your story on the show for a future episode. And also find us on Facebook, also Small Town Hauntings.
Yeah, and make sure you like and follow our page, because we're going to be having a lot more stuff coming up. So thank you very much for tuning in, and stay
spooky.
Stay spooky.